From 700WLW.com. This is Doc Thompson On Demand.
Look at this. Don't we have a rule about no food and drink in the studio? Isn't there?
We have temporarily suspended that rule. I have the magic wand.
Oh, my
Look
golly.
at this. Man,
What
I'll tell you what,
is
you have
this?
all these gorgeous chicks here in the studio. I get it.
Okay, you're going to need to go on 700WLW.com. The webcam is up, and look at this spectacle. Look at what Jim Scott is wearing.
Well, what am I wearing? I'm wearing my hat. I'm wearing my bowler. Hey, here's a magic wand for you, April. Okay? All right, because you only have 2 more days of the month.
1, 2, 3, 4. How many? Oh, you got seven women and Jim Scott in the studio.
So you don't count.
Having tea.
Oh, thank you, Sherry.
In honor of the royal wedding.
You see why we love Jim, because he hangs with us.
Yeah, this is the way I roll.
This is so sad. Haven't you anything else in your life?
Sad? How can you say it? It's a day of pomp and circumstance.
Let's sing God
Don't
Save
you
the
have
King.
anything else that matters in your lives?
No.
Isn't there anything else
Not
important?
today. Not today. Today is a day of storybook weddings and fun and celebrations, and
Hope and promise.
that's what me and my friends are doing today.
Because somebody that you've never met who doesn't matter in the world got married.
I feel like we know them, don't you?
I do.
Intimate medium.
Kate feels like my
Yeah,
friend.
Oh, Kate feels like. I don't know what she feels like.
I don't know. If any of you guys noticed when you drove in, gas was $4.15 a gallon. I don't know if you noticed that.
Who cares?
But
How many
tea,
pounds is that?
tea is very cheap and
it's
lovely
free
to
tea.
drink and fun to drink with your
Okay.
friends and camaraderie.
Where'd you get this tea?
I got this tea from the Tea Exchange at Rookwood, which is the best smelling store I've ever walked into in my entire life.
Wow.
And they taught you how to properly serve tea?
They taught me how to properly serve tea. Okay, we have the tea itself, and there's a little chart. So you put so much tea into each pot, and this particular pot serves at least 6. We have more than that here today. And then if you want milk, you put the milk in first. Then you pour the tea over the strainer, and each cup has a strainer. And then if you want lemon or anything like that.
You've already bored me.
We are drinking Darjeeling tea, which is the champagne of tea ladies, because today's a day of champagne.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to some things that
we'll be
actually
back
matter.
at 10 o'clock.
Talk about gas prices. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. Well, I figured out yesterday at what point people actually care about gas prices, and that is $4.15 a gallon. That's the point that people actually start caring.
This is more important, girls.
Julia Seymour
See you at
joins
10,
me now.
Doc.
All right. Julia Seymour joins me now from the Business and Media Institute. How are you, Julia?
I'm great. How are you?
Fine. For the last couple of weeks, when I talk about gas prices, people really have not. I mean, some people care. Some people are a little stressed out about it, but they haven't really started flipping out until yesterday, when overnight people came in Wednesday night to Thursday morning, and they realized it was $4.15 a gallon, and that's when they started flipping out.
Wow. Yeah. I remember back in 2008 when gas prices peaked at a national average of $4.11, because that was when people really had to cut back their demand, and prices ended up falling after that. But you're right. I think right around that over $4 is when people are suddenly like, oh my gosh, that's really what the price is. I have to change something.
Oh yeah, I mean, people start flipping out. I got just dozens and dozens of email. People, I mean, not even making points, just frustrated, just wanting to vent, going, "What is this? $4.15 a gallon?"
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, I mean, it was in the high 380s, 390s around here for a while. I still didn't hear it as much. Is it because it hasn't been covered in the media? I mean, I remember when it hit in 2008.
Right.
I mean, people were upset when it was 350 and it was being covered quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that the networks are not stoking that anger like they did in 2008, where they were constantly, breathlessly covering gas prices rising for almost, in 2008, but they had been doing it for years earlier. They had been predicting, $4, $5, $6 a gallon when gas was in like the $2 something range. So they really were very hyperbolic, and then we finally got there, and it was constant. The coverage was constant, and we're not seeing that now. And Another difference between the coverage then and now is that the president's name doesn't get mentioned hardly at all. President Obama rarely gets mentioned in high gas price stories, despite policies on oil that actually would restrict our supply domestically. And President Bush's name, in contrast, was mentioned all the time.
So do you think it's because people associated with Bush as being the oil guy and a friend of the big oil and Obama isn't? Is it almost like Obama is also a victim of the big oil companies as opposed to Bush was somebody that was involved in it?
That's an interesting thought. I know that was certainly one of the charges they railed against Bush, claiming that that they tried to make it into a conspiracy with Bush. By portraying him as very big oil, very much, prices are so high because his buddies are making a fortune, that kind of thing. And now, since Obama is not friends with oil, supposedly, that story isn't there for them to tell, which means that they don't have the same villain.
But the interesting thing is, first of all, Obama has gotten donations from oil companies as well. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll preface it by saying it's something that I recall reading a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure it's more support than even President Bush got. That he got more campaign contributions, even if it's not more, it is certainly substantial.
Yeah, he definitely did get substantial contributions from oil companies. If I remember correctly, BP was a big supporter of President Obama, which is, ironic. But that story doesn't get told. And the other story that's missing is what his oil policy is. High gas prices are a perfect opportunity for the networks to do their job and look at his agenda on oil drilling, to talk about the drilling moratorium that at least one company that has filed for bankruptcy has cited as specifically the reason they went bankrupt, to see if this is having any impact on prices. And the fact that his Environmental Protection Agency wants more regulations on the industry is going to lower supply in the future if they get their way. These are discussions that the network should be talking about, putting out there so people can agree or disagree, and they're just not telling the story. I looked at 280 oil price stories since last year's oil spill, and only 3 stories in that year made any connection or any mention of the administration's anti-oil actions and the rising gasoline prices.
And there's definitely a connection. I mean, whether or not you believe Bush's background in oil and he was a friend of him and it was a conspiracy, even if you do believe that, well, wouldn't you also say because Obama is so anti-oil that his stances are, battling the oil companies are causing gas prices to go up as well? I mean, if you believe one, you've got to believe the other.
Logically, yes. Unfortunately, the networks don't seem to operate based on logic. The administration is so anti-oil, certainly the most anti-oil administration I've ever seen, possibly the most anti-oil administration we've had. And that is significant because that affects investing decisions for the people in the industry, what they're going to do, whether they expect higher costs down, in the future because of more regulation or whatever. It has to be impacting at least part of this. I'm not going to jump out there and say that this is all of the price increase. It's not. There are many factors, political factors, and certainly many other issues going on.
There's a lot of things that go into it.
But to say that somehow you can restrict supply and make something more expensive and have no impact on price is absurd. And that seems to be, the reaction from the networks is they're not a factor. It's not a story.
Well, it's a couple of things. Number one, restricting supply, as you mentioned, which is policy. And it's not just the president's policy. It's been policies of administrations and Congresses past, directly or indirectly from administrations based on policies of Congress. I mean, there's a lot of pieces that go into it.
Right.
The EPA, they're restricting it. It's also the added expense that organizations or government agencies like the EPA or any other green people put on the oil producers. When they say, okay, you've got to jump through these extra hoops, you've got to take these extra steps.
Right.
There's an added expense. But something as simple as the president supporting oil or not. Think about this a minute. Presidents can take some very subtle stances in their life. They can do some very subtle things that affect a lot of things. For example, one of the reasons men no longer wear hats is because of John Kennedy. John Kennedy made it acceptable for men not to wear hats. Used to be, man without a hat, what's wrong with you, you know? So, and there's a lot of things like that. If a president comes out and says, you know, I hate peanuts, then there's a backlash against peanuts and all this issue, whatever. So if the president doesn't take a pro-oil stance and doesn't say, yes, this is one piece of the puzzle, Bush really didn't take a pro-oil stance. He said we're addicted to it and all this other stuff.
Right. Addiction
is not a friendly word.
No.
So there's a lot of things that go into a president causing the gas prices to go up. Now, I got a clip I want to play for you. I'm talking to Julia Seymour from the Business and Media Institute. I want to know how many traditional or mainstream media outlets have reported this. This is a clip of the president speaking January of 2008 on his energy policy.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. Even, regardless of what I say about whether coal is good or bad, because I'm capping greenhouse gases, coal-powered plants, natural gas, you name whatever the plants were, whatever the industry was, they would have to retrofit their operations. That will cost money. They will pass that money on to consumers.
I mean, the president laid it out there. And let me lay it out so people understand, because he kind of throws it together, and we're not used to hearing these words. Normally you hear wouldn't necessarily. He said would necessarily. Under his plan, it is a necessity that oil prices, gas prices, energy prices in general go up. Now, he was specifically started off talking about coal, but he said whatever the industry, when speaking of energy, would fall under this. His plan, he supports cap and trade. He supports above and beyond cheap energy prices and us having cheap gasoline, this green policy.
And he makes it perfectly clear that he knows that those costs will be passed on and borne by consumers.
And he's okay with that.
Yes.
Because he's more concerned with the environment.
Exactly. His environmental agenda is a bigger priority to him than people having energy that they can afford.
Is the mainstream media, do they talk about that clip? I mean, I have to actually dig for it to find it.
Yeah, I had to dig for it because I knew it existed, and having done so many stories on gasoline prices and attacks on the coal industry this year, I had gone looking for it, and it took some work. I haven't done a specific search of the networks to see how many times they've mentioned that clip, but I know that I don't see it when I go through a lot of these stories. And I don't see him portrayed as an environmental zealot, which is what he is. I mean, when he has a policy like this in place that will hurt consumers, and they portray him as he's green, he's environmentally friendly, he wants us on alternative energy, and they do not admit that that's going to hurt consumers. They're failing in their responsibility, and that's what I see all the time.
I saw a media story this morning where the Energy Secretary, Stephen Chu, was suggesting that he's actually working to lower gasoline prices through his green issues. That's his, and I'm like, no, Stephen Chu. No, I don't either. They've shown they don't care about it. What's first and foremost is being green. Let me play a clip. I don't actually have it of the Energy Secretary because it wasn't recorded, but the quotes, you can find the quotes online. Here is a senator from Wyoming quoting the Energy Secretary and what their plan is.
Now, we do have a Secretary of Energy. You would think he'd be concerned about the cost of energy and the impact on American families. Well, not so, Mr. President, when you look at some of the statements that he's made. In the past, he said somehow we have to figure out how to boost the price of gasoline to the levels of Europe. That's the Secretary of Energy's proposal. Figure out how to boost the price of gasoline to the levels in Europe.
They actually want the prices to go up to Europe. Right now, Europe is over $10 a gallon if you did the conversion. It's been consistently, $6, $7, $8, $9 a gallon for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, this is just crazy. This is a crazy policy, and they've been so blatant, so open about what they want.
And yet it's not reported in the mainstream media.
Exactly. The people don't get to hear it because the media just don't report it. I I have to assume that it's because the media agrees with going to alternative energy no matter what the cost.
Their bigger issue, and I want everybody to realize this, as you're driving around and you're looking at $4.15 a gallon right now, which will probably, likely in the next couple of weeks, continue to go up. I want you to realize that their concern, regardless of what the mainstream media says or tries to spin, as I've just laid out for you, their concern is the environment over cheap gas prices and the economy. I think that's pretty clear. Would you agree?
Absolutely. That is what this administration wants, regardless of the lip service they may pay to trying to lower prices.
Julia Seymour from the Business and Media Institute, I appreciate you joining me this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Have a good day. In fact, you can find links to her information on my blog at 700WLW.com. Don't forget, you can comment on anything posted up there, including the guest we've had. You'll find it. Just look for Doc Thompson on 700WLW.com. Fox 19 Storm Tracker forecast for meteorologist Katie Morgan. It's going to turn into sunny skies this afternoon. She says afternoon high around 62. Mostly clear tonight. Cool overnight low 42. Beautiful day tomorrow with a high around 74. Could see some T-storms returning Sunday morning. Hopefully that won't be the case because we got that flying pig. Currently 46 right now at 700 WLW. Listen, this is not about attacking President Obama. This is about attacking the policies that the United States has had for a long time. Even under George W. Bush. Oh, you want to pretend that he was this big oil guy, and he certainly didn't support the EPA the way President Obama has. But none of our presidents in recent memory, and certainly Congresses, have really taken on the tough issues of the EPA overstepping their boundaries, the EPA really targeting our energy policies. We've essentially given our energy policies over to the EPA. The president has a lot to do, whether indirectly by little comments, what he says about oil, gasoline, or directly with policies and supporting the EPA and continuing to give them more power and support the power that they have to regulate certain things that they weren't supposed to regulate. He has a lot of influence over the price of gasoline. We need to turn it around. We need to stop vilifying gasoline. We stop that. We allow the energy companies to drill safely. There's nothing wrong with that. They can do that. But stop making them wait 5 years and spend $4 billion to drill some of these wells. The president, by not supporting oil, also helps drive the price from the speculators. Oh, the president loves to pin it on the speculators, loves to claim that, well, because that's business. And he is not a fan of business. He doesn't like Wall Street. That's Wall Street. He wants to blame them for it. He is actually adding to their speculation. Think about it. If you were considering buying oil futures, what would you look at? What types of information? You're essentially betting that the price is going to go up of oil if you want to make money, unless you're going to short it, and that gets a whole different issue. But generally speaking, you're looking at the price of oil going up. And you're saying, okay, I want to make money off of this, so I want to buy now, and I'm speculating that down the road the price of oil will go up, at which point I can sell it. Sell it to the refinery to make it, and there you go. Well, what are you going to base that on? A lot of information out there, but one of the things you're going to base it on is how friendly the administration and Congress is going to be to oil development and gas production in the future. Sure, you'll look at hurricanes and whether or not they could disrupt the flow of oil and the refining of gasoline. You'd look at those, but you're also looking at how supportive the administration is, and you're also looking at the EPA, if they're going to allow new drilling. These are all things you're looking into. And that's part of the reason when presidents past have come out and said, okay, we're going to open this up, we're going to support oil, you've seen the prices drop. People are just starting to wake up. And the people who aren't are the people who haven't noticed it yet. As people fill up, you cycle through your whatever gas you have in your tank right now. I would think most people would probably cycle through it by early next week. I mean, even if they filled up right before the price went up. Then most of us will cycle through and then go, oh my golly, it is now $4.14, $4.15 a gallon. What if it goes up from there? People are getting upset now at $4.14, $4.30, $4.50. I was talking to a couple guys the other day. They're like, I'm spending $100 when I fill up. I mean, you're spending, $70, $80. Yeah, you imagine. See, I charge it. I charge everything. I charge it on my credit card. So although it's painful when I see it and it bothers me, if you were peeling off those dollars, if you're saying $20, $40, $60, $85 and you're peeling them off, whew, man, oh man, that's brutal. Jim Wilmington, you're on 700 WLW.
Hey, Doc, how you doing?
How are you?
Not bad. Hey, two things. One, I got a question for you, and then the second, I got a comment. The question, when did it, or what was the price that it leveled off the last time that everybody just refused to buy it?
In 2008, you mean?
Was it 2008? What was that price?
Yeah, that was August of 2008 or late summer 2008. I think the national average leveled, and again, this was the national average, was in around 411, 412, somewhere around there.
Okay, and then the comment I got is I don't know how anybody can be ignorant of the fact that our gas prices are going up because the president, when he was either a candidate or when he just took office, talked about how we had to have $5 a gallon gas to make people want to go into alternative energy resources or alternative energy systems.
No, you're absolutely right. It's actually not $5 a gallon, though. It's much, much higher. You're right, though. It is. That's the policy, and that's what's so frustrating. If you really know what you're talking about and you really do the research and you know the history, the president really is not that concerned with the gas prices going up. Now, he has to come out and seem like he's concerned because he has to get reelected. We're in election season for him. So he has to take these issues that all of us feel, all of us recognize that every day, 20, 40, 60, 80, at the gas pump, and seem like he's concerned. Secretly, behind the casinos right now, he's not. This is part of their plan. And even if this has not been a calculated plan, which I think it has been, it's certainly one that they like. He said it before he got elected. His energy secretary said it after he was elected. Of course, then they came out and said, oh, well, now the economy's bad, so that wouldn't be the right time. Baloney, that's what they want. That's what they want. So he has to come out and say his agenda will actually help this, which is one of the arguments. We need to invest in green, and that'll help the gas prices. No, it's not. It's not going to help the gas prices. They say things like, well, it's those speculators, because, remember, you got to have a villain. If you're running for office, you got to have somebody or something you're running against. What are you running against? Well, he needed somebody because gas is going to be a major issue for him. If they stay over $4 a gallon, that's a major problem for him. So he has to find a villain. It's those speculators. And when people think of speculators, what do they think of? Wall Street. And everybody loves to blame Wall Street now. But if you do your homework and you recognize this is what they want, there's things he could do. Open up drilling. Get rid of those moratoriums. Offer more drilling off of the East Coast, Gulf of Mexico, up near Alaska, off the coast of California. Get it done. At this point, if you're really that concerned, give it a shot. Let's see what happens. You issue another 4,000 permits tomorrow. Get rid of those moratoriums. You tell Shell Oil they go up there and go ahead and drill in Alaska where they spent all that time and money. See what happens to the oil and gas prices. Why not give it a shot? Back to the phones we go. Tom and Anderson, how are you?
Great. I'll make it quick. I always get cut off, so I better go fast. First of all, regarding what you just said in drilling, heard yesterday they said if they even ramp it up by 300 billion barrels, they said to the max they think they could get, we'd only affect gas prices by dropping 3 cents. That sounds crazy. Secondly, when Bush took office, gas was only $24 a barrel. It's incredible. What else? Lundberg, the gouging. Mike McConnell used to talk about there was a watchdog that would say, there is no price gouging. We watch it. I don't believe that for a second. Profits are very disproportionate to the production from a year ago, from the last few years. If you look at the output versus profit, and their only answer is, well, we're just so much more efficient now.
Okay. Well, let's take these. You're throwing a lot of that there. First of all, what does Bush at $24 a gallon a barrel have to do with it?
Well, we've gotten up almost $100 more a gallon. I'm just for example, it's just amazing in 10 years' time how gas has jumped.
I mean, but you said when Bush, like, there's an issue with Bush. I mean, are you saying it's his fault, or I shouldn't be questioning Obama? I mean,
no. I was just kind of I just thought it was, just making a point that I couldn't believe it was $24 a gallon 10 years ago, and now we're up to $1.16.
Okay, if it's 10 years ago, that's fine. I mean, I just want to make sure what your point is.
Yeah.
As far as the profits, and you say disproportionate, how are profits disproportionate ever? What does that mean?
Well, the profits are through the roof compared to last year based on production. So they're saying, what changed other than the fact that they can get more money out of us? They haven't, they're saying we're just so much more efficient now. Therefore, we're able to turn more out of a gallon, make more money, when really, you and I are thinking that's bull. You guys see an opportunity to raise the gas prices, and you're going for it.
Well, actually, I don't think it's bull. I mean, you may think it's bull. Okay. I don't understand why that's a problem. Why does everyone attack the oil? Don't you want to make money?
Yeah, I do. But can I get to a couple of quick points and then?
Sure. I'm just serious. You want to make money, just to be clear.
Absolutely.
So having money, if you were to have an extra $10, and I were to wow, Tom, you've got an extra $10 in your pocket now, would that be a problem?
I'd give it away. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. What are your other issues?
One other thing is we're using a ton of light sweet crude. That's what we get from everywhere else. But we have an abundance of heavy crude that has more sulfur, which is a different refining process. And they say that we just have tons of that in the United States. We're going to drill in Alaska for light sweet crude, but other places, I don't know exactly where, but the United States is abundant in heavy crude, high sulfur content. Let's get started. We're still giving subsidies to the, big oil. I think we should stop. They're
Absolutely.
Profitable. And then one last thing, where is our second largest reserve in the world? You know this, I'm sure.
Anwar.
Mexico. Why can't we work out a deal? Why aren't they producing more oil for us?
Why aren't they producing more oil for themselves? It's not for us.
Well, there you go. They could be a wealthy nation. I just think...
I'm questioning the second largest reserve in the world. I appreciate your call because I've heard a couple different places. I've heard a couple different mention. First of all, the one that the EPA stopped Shell from opening this or drilling just last week, that would have been 2.5 times what has gone through the Trans-Alaskan pipeline in 30 years. That's a substantial one. And, of course, when you come to shale oil, if you're talking just directly shale oil, we've got huge reserves of shale oil. Now, you may not like that idea. The way you get it done is to befriend the oil companies. You don't have to give them subsidies. It's just we got used to doing that forever. You say, listen, we're going to end those subsidies because you don't need them, but we're also going to help you make a whole lot of money by opening up some areas to drill and getting off your back. We'll get the EPA off your back. Doc Thompson on the big one, 700 WLW. Doc Thompson on the big one, 700 WLW. If you want to save some money, I'm going to help you out. Gas prices going up. You can do it with Lance's deal of the day. Just go to 700WLW.com, and we're having a blowout this week. Huge blowout. 50 to 70% off, not just one item. It's the deals of the day. 50 to 70% off local bars, restaurants, spas, golf courses, and more. Just go to 700WLW.com and look for the banner for Lance's deal of the day. Got an email from Aaron. He said, I lay tile for a living, and I drive a Dodge Ram 1500. Put about 900 miles a week on it. It's killing us out here. Because when we bid on the jobs we're doing now, gas was low. It's not until fall hits that the more prices everywhere will reflect the prices. Most people do not realize contracts are done months and years in advance. The worst is yet to come. No, he's right about the worst. Because he's going to have to raise his prices, I would guess, and everybody else. I mean, he can't just absorb a substantial hit. I get an email. Somebody said they saw a 34 cent a gallon jump. 34 cents a gallon jump overnight. They can't absorb that. How come you're not investing in oil companies or futures? That's something we should be doing. Instead of vilifying the oil companies, recognize that government has more control over a lot of the different angles when it comes to the price of oil and gasoline, and then go out and invest in it. Instead of those evil, rich oil companies making all that money, why not you? You could be out there making the money too. We all should be doing that. Then that'll at least offset some of the expenses, right? Let me give you some statistics about the oil companies. People love to vilify them. Look at those huge profits. The profits of any corporation belong to who? Stockholders. So how much money the oil company stock make, the oil companies make, the stock, it goes to the people. Now, the executives do make money. A lot of them are vested as well. You know how much, if you combine the oil companies? According to Bill Clinton's Undersecretary of Commerce for Economic Affairs, 1.5. The oil company execs own about 1.5%. The demographic makeup of 98.5% of oil company stockholders who are not oil industry executives is broadly the middle class. 43% are held in mutual fund accounts. You may actually already be an investor. 55 million U.S. households with median incomes of $68,000. It's not getting rich. That's who owns oil company stock. 43%. 55 million with a median income of $68,000. Who else owns oil company stock? Who makes those huge profits? 27% of those stocks are owned by pension funds of middle class government workers. 14% are held by the IRA accounts and other personal investment accounts of 45 million U.S. households. It's not the big fat cat oil company executives. It's you and I, middle class. So we should be investing in more in it, shouldn't we? The Doctor's on 700 WLW. Let's go back to the phones now. We got Jack in Indiana. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, sir. You at 415? Is that what you're seeing?
415, yes, sir. My problem with this whole thing is the oil companies said back in 2008 when it went up to $4 a gallon that the gas prices was directly involved with the price of the barrel of oil. And at that time when gas reached $4 a gallon, the price of a barrel of oil was around $150. And then when the price of barrel of oil went down to the whatever it was, I don't remember it now at the time, but the gas never went down accordingly. Now that it's went back up over $4 a gallon again, the price of a barrel of oil is only, I say only,
in the one teens, 112, 113.
Right. So, they don't tell you the truth, and that's the problem with this whole thing.
The problem is, Jack, there's so many things, there's so many variables connected with it. It's really difficult to get the truth out. And I'll tell you why. You've got, first of all, it's not just the price of oil, it's also then the refining of the oil into the gasoline. Well, what goes into refining? Well, first of all, the refineries, and as you know, we haven't built a new one since 76, although we have modernized some of them. That's an issue right there. Getting the oil to the refineries, then refining it and getting rid of, and then shipping that gasoline to the different gas stations. So you've got all of those expenses. That's the reason if you see a hurricane that stops the supply there, you may get the oil for, $50 a barrel. But then the price of gasoline goes through the roof, not proportionate with the oil being priced at $50 a gallon because they had trouble refining it. They shut the refineries down. The flow was stopped there. They couldn't get it from the refinery to the gas stations. All of these different things go. So you can't look and say, that is the only reason that's happening. Well, that may add to it, but it might be something else. But if you look at the common thread, and this is what the point I'm trying to get across, the common thread is the effect that the government and our policies have on gasoline and oil drilling and the refining into gas. That's the common thread. That's the one thing that you and I can actually get a handle on and affect gas prices for the better, is by telling them to support policies that will bring the price of gas down. Superman, in the latest Superman comic, I got to share some information with you. Superman, my entire life, what has Superman stood for? What was his little rallying cry there? What was his battle cry? Superman stood for truth, justice, and the American way. Right? Well, Superman is fed up now with America. The 900th edition of Action Comics, featuring Superman, has Superman giving up his American citizenship. In the comic, he says, which is why I intend to speak before the United Nations tomorrow and inform them I'm renouncing my U.S. citizenship. I'm tired of having my actions construed as an instrument of U.S. policy. Truth, justice, and the American way, it's not enough anymore. The world's too small, too connected. When Superman gets to that point, when comic books are talking about this global world, one world, that's really bad. Superman used to stand for truth, justice, and the American way, saying that the American way was a good thing. Freedom, capitalism, democracy, all very good things. Now that's not enough. The world is too small and too connected. Superman is basically supporting the idea of one world. Why have borders? Why should it be set up like America? This is another step with those crazy people out there that believe that we should have one world government. But you know what? If you want one world government, then you let everybody else be like America. You let them come here legally, petition to be states, do it the way we're doing it. Because for a long time, until the crazies got involved, we had a pretty good thing going here. Pretty high quality of life, high standard of living, money, abundance, all of these things, and also freedom. About a year or so ago, Captain America changed to Nomad. Some of them were trashing the Tea Parties, organizations that simply want smaller government, fiscal responsibility, and personal freedoms, coming out and attacking them. Now, politics has always been represented in comic books. Captain America fought the Nazis during World War II and the Red Skull. It's always been a part of it. But up until now, it's always been pro-America and pro-American values and freedoms. So now you've got the comic books that are trying to influence the kids as well to say that America is bad, the world is too small, too connected, supporting the idea that, I guess, from what I'm seeing, the American way is a bad thing. And that we should support the idea that there should be one world government? Is that what he's saying? So if truth, justice, and the American way isn't enough anymore, what is? What would his mantra be then? What would Superman want? Truth, justice, and the American way, not enough. Social justice? Is that what he means? It's Doc Thompson on the home of the Red, 700 WLW.